the Taj Mahal. Just the name itself brings to mind this incredible image of beauty, right? It's this masterpiece of architecture in Agra, India, that honestly looks like it's floating. But behind this shining tomb, which spreads across a massive 42 acres, there's a really heart-wrenching story of love, loss, and a promise an emperor made.
So let's get right into it. We all know it's one of the most beautiful buildings on Earth, but what's the real story? How in the world was this thing actually built? Especially, 400 years ago without any of our modern tech. Okay, to really wrap your head around the sheer scale of this project, let's just start with the cost. If you were to build the Taj Mahal today, the price tag would be a mind-blowing $1 billion. Yeah, that's billion with a B. That's an almost unimaginable sum, and it kind of gives you a hint that this is way more than just a building. It's a statement that was meant to shape an entire empire. And the human cost? Just as massive. It took a literal army of people. We're talking 20,000 laborers, sculptors, and master craftsmen. They were brought in from all over the Mughal Empire to pour every bit of their skill and sweat into this one singular vision. And, this wasn't some quick project. The whole thing, from laying the very first stone to the final polish, took 22 long years. For a lot of the people who worked on it, this was their life's work. So think about that. $1 billion, 20,000 workers, and 22 years of construction. What on earth could possibly inspire an undertaking like that? Well, it all starts with a love story. An emperor's great love.
So, let's do a quick flyby of the events that got us here. It starts back in 1607. A young Prince Khurram meets the woman who will become the love of his life, Taj Mahal. He fights, he conquers, and by 1628, he takes the throne, giving himself the title Shah Jahan, which means Emperor of the World. But then, just 3 years into his glorious reign, tragedy strikes.
Now, to really get the depth of their bond, you have to understand the context here. Shah Jahan had other wives. That was pretty common for an emperor at the time. But Mumtaz, she was different. She was his true love, his confidant, the one he shared his entire life with. And it's that incredibly deep connection that makes this next part of the story so utterly heartbreaking. A queen's dying wish. So it's June 17th, 1631. They're in the middle of a military campaign, and the unthinkable happens. While giving birth to their 14th child, Mumtaz Mahal dies. The entire empire was just plunged into sorrow. And in her final moments, she makes a request that would literally change the course of architectural history. The story goes that her very last wish to her husband was this: build for me the most beautiful tomb in the world. This loss absolutely shattered Shah Jahan. The emperor of the world went into a deep, deep mourning that lasted for 2 full years. He reportedly gave up all music, celebrations, even things like perfumes. But out of all that darkness came this one single focus. He had to fulfill his promise. So this next part is all about the incredible challenge they faced, engineering an impossible dream. The first huge problem was the location. Shah Jahan picked this beautiful spot on the banks of the Yamuna River. I mean, it's a gorgeous setting, but for an engineer, it's a total nightmare. So the big question was, how do you build a massive, incredibly heavy marble structure on soft, unstable riverside soil? And the solution they came up with just shows the pure ingenuity of Mughal engineers. They knew they couldn't build on the soil, so they decided to build through it. Get this, they dug a series of super deep wells, going down and down until they finally hit dry, stable earth. Then they filled those wells back up with rocks and rubble, creating these solid pillars deep underground. And that's what they built the foundation on top of. It's an absolutely genius solution. Okay, so foundation, solid. Now it was time for the design. And Shah Jahan didn't just invent this style out of thin air, he perfected it. He drew inspiration from the grand tombs of his own ancestors, basically taking the best elements from each one. You can see the influence of his father's tomb in the pillars, his grandfather's in the main building, and even his uncle's in that famous iconic dome. He literally combined the best of Mughal architecture into one perfect form. And the design is just full of these incredibly clever details. Take the 4 corner pillars, right? The minarets. They're not perfectly straight. They actually lean just a little bit outwards. And this does 2 things. First, it's an optical illusion, so from a distance they look perfectly straight. But second, and this is brilliant,
If there were a huge earthquake, they would fall away from the main tomb, protecting it from being crushed. How smart is that? The structure itself is breathtaking, right? But to make it the most beautiful tomb, it all came down to the details. The artists used this amazing technique called pietradura. This is the super meticulous art of inlaying valuable and semi-precious stones directly into marble that has been cut with incredible precision. It's how they created all those beautiful, intricate floral patterns you see all over the tomb. And you might be wondering, how did they make those tiny stones stick for 400 years? Well, not with any old glue. Modern science has figured out it was this special mixture of shira, which is a type of unrefined sugar syrup, lemon juice, and marble powder. A really powerful organic glue that has, for sure, stood the test of time. So the project was this incredible triumph of art and engineering. But the story doesn't end there. Now we come to the final, and kind of tragic chapter, a legacy of both love and loss. After 22 years of non-stop work, the world's most beautiful tomb was finally finished in 1654. Shah Jahan had done it. He had fulfilled his promise. He named the magnificent building in honor of his beloved wife, taking her name, Mumtaz Mahal, and creating Taj Mahal. But this incredible success came at a terrible, terrible price. The project had drained the royal treasury, pretty much bankrupting the entire Mughal empire. And this slide just shows the brutal turnaround that happened next. Because of all that financial strain, Shah Jahan's own son would lead a coup, and in just 4 years, the emperor of the world would become a prisoner in Agra fort. I mean, what a cruel twist of fate. Shah Jahan was overthrown and locked up by his own son. He spent the last 8 years of his life under house arrest in the fort nearby, with only one small comfort. His window had a direct view of the Taj Mahal. When he died at the age of 74, Shah Jahan's final journey was a short one. He was carried across the river and buried right there, inside the Taj Mahal, laid to rest right beside his beloved Mumtaz, finally reunited in the incredible tomb he had built for her. You know, we tell this story as the ultimate expression of love, but when you really think about the cost, the 22 years of labor, and the emperor's tragic end, it leaves you with a final question to chew on. Is the Taj Mahal a monument to love? Or was it an emperor's magnificent obsession?